are the living dwelling of Yahusha, and living water is flowing freely. We are the living dwelling of Yahusha, and the Torah shines our way.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome, brothers and sisters, to the Terrace Talk. And today we're going to look at to be trained by Yahusha. How do we get trained by Yahusha? The Hebrew word for trained is a force, whether of men, means, or other resources. This is how we get trained: an army, wealth, virtue, valor, strength, activity, band of men, soldiers, a company, host, might, power, riches of his word, of wisdom, strength, strong substance, train, valiant, virtuous, war, worthy, to narrow, the narrow path, bring things simple into a narrow way, to initiate or discipline. Initiate, start off a conversation on truth. Dedicate, train up to flow in the vein, flow in his word. So the scriptures containing the word trained also bring light onto this subject. In Timothy 3, scripture is inspired by Yahusha. It's spiritually, supernaturally inspired. It's alive. It's inspired by Yahusha and teaches us what is true and what is wrong in our lives. It corrects us and teaches us to do what is right. We need to have his spirit to be able to discern and understand and receive the inspiration that the word has, so we can find the truth. Hebrews 12 says, discipline may seem painful at first, but it yields the peaceable fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. So we need that discipline in our thoughts, in our behavior, in our lives, to yield that fruit of righteousness, to be right with Yahusha. Romans 15:4, everything that was written in the past was written to teach us, so that through the endurance taught in the scriptures we might have hope. So that was written in the past. We don't go back to the past, but we take it as we learn from it. We learn from the scriptures and from what was written in the past to give us hope. In Proverbs 22, if a child is trained up in the right way, even when he is old, he will not be turned away from it. In 1 Timothy 4:8, the training of the body is of profit for a little, but reverence is of profit in every way. So you can see the incredibly enormous path that everyone's going into fitness and wellness and all this. It's only profit for a little, but reverence is of profit in every way. I'd just like to go into a summary, and when you have reached maturity through the vein, coming through all this, reaching maturity and going through the word and through the vein, when you have reached maturity through the vein process, then on the message as a teacher, passing on that message, you need to pass that message on as a teacher. You start training others. This is the word to be given as a mature person. But when they don't think you have the right to do so, by asking personal questions, most people take things personal and they don't like you investigating. They don't want you to have the right. But that means nothing. Their rights, that's the world, that's not to stop you. Their rights, that's just filthy rags. It's self-righteousness, and we need to go through that. So that's when you start to teach, you come up against this. People have their rights. They have who they think they are. And that spirit in their flesh rises up to distract the truth from penetrating into your heart, to relieve you. Another meaning is to drill them. Drill people in their own words in love. To drill people, to train, to teach, to drill. So they come back true, to put down the spirit in their flesh. The truth will put down and break that spirit and cause that spirit in the flesh to flee. The Hebrew word process is going on when you look at the arrogance of the untrained without correct teachers. This is happening in the bride company today. Teachers that are untrained and they don't have the correct teaching. They don't have the authority. What sort of behaviour do they have? Is it drilled and disciplined? Have they been through the training of what we spoke about? Have they gone through the process, the discipline? Teachers today put a bigger emphasis on the old covenant, always to replace the new covenant. They think that there's an authority, there's an authenticity, and that there is a great knowledge and a great respect to go back to the old Jewish covenant, the old ways. Whenever it speaks of following the commandments in the New Testament, that is to follow the 2 royal laws, not the 10 commandments. It doesn't work because it's got no power, and they haven't gone through the drilling process, these teachers that set themselves up. The teachers today have got to be aware of your feelings and emotions and push through and say, well, are you going to do it or not? Are you going to face the truth here or not? There is no way you can take hold of the world if you haven't been trained by Yahusha personally through the vein. There is no way you can overcome the world and get through and be delivered unless you have been trained personally by Yahusha through the vein. You have to be trained by Yahusha personally. It's a personal experience. He comes into your heart. No one else can do this for you. How do you know it's a personal thing? Because look at Hebrews 12. Because of the flogging, I'm going through the fire. You can feel it. It's real. It's a real thing inside. What do you think of being trained by him? Trained by Yahusha himself. But what they're doing, these teachers, they're floating around in a knowledge because it's more understandings, and all the other teachers have set themselves up with positions, set themselves up with knowledge and how they profess to have the truth. And yet the truth is hidden. The truth is hidden within the word. He said you need to seek out his word and you'll find it. Not many people want to go through and go into this vein, go into this searching in your heart and putting off and facing the truth about what is in your flesh and what you have and where you are and what you believe and how you behave and how you feel and how you treat everyone. Look at my husband. He's trained us all for years, disciplining, teaching, sharing, admonishing, training, drilling, correcting without fear. He had no fear of what came at him and came against him, knowing what was coming out of us. He knew and faced the spirit that was coming out of us at him, the conflict and the aggression, the patience, the long-suffering, the torment, and the unbelief coming at him, making him think that it doesn't work, that he hasn't got the truth, that he doesn't know, and that he isn't, and yet still his behaviour and his words and the truth and his whole being reflected that he knew and he had something that we didn't have. He had to prove the truth of his words to us, which were from Yahusha. He had to prove he was hearing Yahusha, and none of us would let him have it. None of us would really understand and believe. Behaving the fruits in humility, constantly making a separation with us to point to the point that he was right and that we were wrong. And this went on for some time because none of us wanted to see that separation. We all thought we were equal. We wanted to be the same. We wanted to be knowledgeable and understand and be self-righteous and inside ourselves squirming away. But when the truth came, we could see the words cut through like a sword, cut into our hearts. Yahusha's word is just so powerful, humiliating us, putting us into a place where we had to see his truth. We had to see Yahusha's truth coming through him. Just looking and realizing you're wrong and going against the truth, realizing you're wrong, the reactions when you face and when you see you're wrong, what reactions? With the spirit in my flesh just screaming and spinning my thoughts all into the worst accusations I could think of against the messenger, and yet trying to cover it up, covering up my anger, my in a nice behaviour, being nice and smiling and pretending. This is the vile reaction that my husband was subjected to. But he held on to the belief. He held on and believed for a long, long time. He held on and didn't let go, that Yahusha's powerful words would deliver me from that control. Over and over and over, teaching in the behaviour, checking my moods, my thoughts, questioning my attitude and comments, helping and guiding and provoking me and to see myself, provoking everything and giving me the answers and helping me and showing me and encouraging and lifting me up and saying, yes, you can do it, you can overcome. But he held on to those things and the belief, constantly knowing that what Yahusha had started, he will finish, he will complete. Over and over again, the teaching about behaviour, teaching with the behaviour, checking everything, until we got to the fire baptism, the spirit and the fire baptism, where we could see and know Yahusha. And that revelation came to us where we couldn't get out of, because it was Yahusha doing it to us. And we could feel that fire We can feel that fire when we step out of his will. Where we could see Yahusha. His work was done, and then he said, I'm out. I'm out of this. I've stepped out because I don't need to teach you anymore because you know Yahusha. He knew that his work was done because we all know Yahusha. Yahusha taught us. His work was done. It's up to us. It's up to us now to pass this on and to give it to you. And now it's up to you to go through the vein and to experience Yahusha and get to know him, work out your deliverance, because nobody else can. You have no rights in this reign to speak his word unless you have been trained by Yahusha personally. You have no rights to speak his reign, his word, his inspired scriptures, unless you have been trained by Yahusha personally. The way you've been through the fire, and then we have to do the cleaning. We go through that fire, but Yahusha does the fire, and we need to face the truth and do the cleaning out ourselves. We need to do that and confess, confront ourselves, and be bold, be strong to face that. It's a battle because spirits in high places want you to be held down and stop you and not let you get free. Look at my husband. He's out enjoying it. He's excited every day. Another day with Yahusha, and he's excited. He sits in his chair and he doesn't have to go and look for people. Everything comes, and daily it's the most exciting trip for him. He just enjoys Yahusha, loves him, and is guided and led and hearing his voice constantly. Still encouraging us, still lifting us up, and enjoying Yahusha. Why do I believe this is true? Because I'm going through it. It's a real thing. It's true. It's a real experience, and I've seen him do it. He has been the person there, the guide. He has been there as an example of what we're to attain in front of us, in our faces. He has behaved it, taught it, copped the abuse from it. He's done it, and he does it. I know I'm experiencing it, and it's so real because it's a journey that everyone has to behave, to take, if you want to be the bride. They won't teach this way. Why won't they? As far as I'm concerned, they won't go there. They won't go into the fire and experience Yahusha and get to know who he really is. They have positions. They have reputations. They have a whole world of followers. They won't die to themselves. They don't want to go in the fire. They don't even believe in the fire baptism and even that Yahusha is Elohim. They keep hanging on to the old covenant teachings, wanting to have their harsh treatment towards you, lifting themselves up in that position where they have people honouring them and acknowledging them and agreeing with them. They don't even acknowledge Yahusha. They deny the vein and want to wipe Yahusha's presence and his words and his name out of existence, because going back to the old dead carcass is what they're doing. To deny Yahusha, kill Yahusha like the Jews did, continually doing this, the arrogance. They have no authority to speak and teach Scripture and put their meanings on it. You have to be trained by it. You have to be trained by it. The arrogance, the total denial of truth, the arrogance, they are the wolves. Those in the bride, can you get into the vein without the fire baptism? No. Because there is a distinction. Do you see the distinction? One is right and one is wrong. That is the distinction, the real distinction. When you are marked for distinction, it means you are someone who is going to do well in life. You will set yourself apart from others. Distinction means to being set apart, often by excellence, because of Yahusha. When things are distinct from one another, they are different. So your behaviour, your attitude, your whole being, everything you say is different. You can't have those qualities unless you've been trained by Yahusha. That's his word. There is a distinction between what is of the world in religion. The distinction is the training, going from the unwise to the wise. From running out of oil, have no oil, to those that have the oil of his Spirit, his fire in them. That is a great distinction. If you don't go through the vein, are you qualified? This is the question. To be trained by Yahusha, lend yourself to him. It's a fearful thing to come into Yahusha's judgment. And wouldn't you rather do this now than on the day of judgment when you're facing him? This is our time, brothers and sisters. Yahusha is there waiting for you, and he wants to train you, to drill you into his presence and into who he wants you to be. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope this helps. Bye for now.
We are the living dwelling of Yahusha, and living water is flowing freely. We are the living dwelling of Yahusha, and the Torah shines our way. We are called out to love one another, but our enemies need some as well. With Yahusha inside us redeeming, urging us to forgive and forget. We are called to conceal